Galaxy A3V10. Play now, download for free. It's the game everyone's playing and everyone's talking about. A must-play game. You don't want to miss out on this experience. Hello, son. I've been watching you. I know you because I've become you.
Emily? Little rough?
Yeah.
How was last night?
We never left Mel's in the end. Look, I'm gonna go and try sleep over the rest of this hangover.
Why'd you stay in the spare room?
I didn't want to keep you up. You'll be better soon. Probably shouldn't grow too attached to you. I'm Emily Carter. No middle name. I was too little for one. That's what Mum told me. Are you okay?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm good.
Have you been waiting outside?
I wasn't.
Okay, whatever.
Why are you keeping secrets
Can
from
you
me?
not speak to me like that, please?
Like
What do you mean, like what? Can you not hear yourself?
Like
I don't understand. Why is that important to you?
You're coming to bed, Emily.
Yeah, in a minute.
You're the moon man. You're the moon man. You're the fucking moon man.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first of 3 In-Cahoots screenings, followed on by discussion by the filmmakers and artists. This week we have some of the narrative-based filmmakers on the course. After watching their films just before, we're just going to go through some of their films and ask some questions, have a bit of discussion all around. Today we have with us, we have Manveer, who is the director and writer of Moon Man. We have Jordan, who has created the film No Rest for Us. We have Ed, who has made Lava. And finally, we have Sam, who made a lockdown film called Malware. We also have Ben Green with us, who is one of the tutors, and he's just going to stand by and give us some extra questions if needed. So I'm going to start. Can each of you just explain who you are, tell us a little bit about your film, the synopsis of it maybe, or something like that? We'll start with Manveer.
All right. Well, hi, I'm Manveer. I'm a director and a writer mostly. On Moon Man, so far, I'm still working on it. I've directed, wrote, produced, and edited it. The film is basically about, this is all in flux now because I'm doing a rewrite of it to kind of make it in Corona times. As always, I'm always rewriting, aren't I? But yeah, so it's basically about an astronaut who's picked to go on a mission to the moon to colonize it, but the mission is not as well run as he's been led to believe, and the moment he's up there, he's actually stranded, and it's basically like The Shining in space. That's probably the sentence version of it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So,
Jordan?
So yeah, I'm Jordan. I'm the producer and director on No Rest for Us. How can I condense the film? It's a war film based in World War II of 2 soldiers who wash up ashore after evacuating Dunkirk, and it's kind of a story of survival between them two. It's currently in post-production. Unfortunately, we still need to record all the audio again because we filmed on a beach and the audio was shite. So we need to redo all that again, and then the editor's working on it at the moment, so we're getting a rough edit, and I'm still working with the composer to get the music ready. But for now, it's just kind of up in the air until everything kind of relaxes and locked down.
Yeah, sweet. Cool. Sam?
Hi, I'm Sam Ainsworth. I directed, wrote, and scored Malware. It's a film I made in lockdown. It's about someone who is a hardcore gamer and gets his hand on a new game, but it kind of takes over his life and starts to mess with it a little bit, and it all just goes a bit wrong, but it was really good fun to make.
Sweet. And Ed?
Hi, I'm Ed. I wrote, directed, and edited Larvae, which is a creature horror film, I guess. It's quite dark. It follows a dysfunctional couple, and then when the creature's introduced, all the dysfunction kind of escalates from there, and has quite a lot of body horror in it.
Sweet. Awesome. So I have a few set of questions for you all. Obviously after just watching the films then, there's a few things that I'm looking at and I'm interested in. So I'm going to start with Sam. Compared to the rest of the people here, you've actually filmed your film in lockdown.
Yeah.
And I'm really interested in how the process was to creating a film from start to end, because it's kind of you on your own. So just give us some insights of how that worked and how it was different compared to how you normally shot films and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I'm living in Manchester still, but I live on a high street in Hume. So I've had shops below me like the whole time of lockdown. So I could really only film, I could film the video like all day, all the time. But all the audio I've filmed, well, recorded between like midnight and 4 o'clock in the morning, because I'm in flats as well. And people were doing like DJ sets and all sorts. So I was getting like thumping bass going off the whole time. And it was just like, I couldn't film it like the way that you normally film something, like going out to a location and then like having all your mates there and being able to like do it then and there. It was kind of like, I filmed one bit one day and then I filmed another 5 minutes another day. And then I recorded everything like when I could, when it was all silent, and it was all just like the most dysfunctional like environment to like make something in, because it just wasn't, there was no structure. You couldn't really plan anything because there was like a building site as well outside. So it was just like, it was all just a lot. But I mean, I managed to get it done. I'm not like, I'm happy with what I made, and like being able to make a film in lockdown was a once in a lifetime experience, and it was really interesting to be able to do that.
I really enjoyed the graphics in it and stuff like that as well. I guess we're having that much time, you know, if you've been furloughed or whatever, it kind of just gives probably so much more creative outlet, doesn't it, when you've just got so much time.
Well, I wanted to, because obviously I could only film in my flat because we were all inside. So I had a green screen, so I set up a green screen and was just I've not used After Effects before, and I just was like, you know what, there's no time like the present. Let's just mess around with some Adobe. And it was challenging, but I mean, I managed to make something.
That was the best way of learning something, maybe, is
100%.
doing it through like a trial and improvement type thing. Because I found when I was making mine that the way that I learned what was working and what wasn't was just by going in the deep end with it. So
yeah, a lot of YouTube tutorials for
you. YouTube is the key for everything.
Just thinking about that was quite interesting in terms of like the actual like technical process of making a film in lockdown. Just thinking back to the film itself, it's really interesting, like hearing you talk about recording audio between like 10 and 4 and having people all around you and being really stuck in a flat making this film. I'm just interested in how that impacted the film sort of thematically. Like how did that feed into it? Because there is this real cabin fever sense to the film. It feels like a film that's been made in lockdown but could only have been made in lockdown. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I had an idea for another film like before lockdown going into it. And I didn't really come up with this idea until it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. And I was just like, I was up and I'd realized that all I'd really been doing was sitting on my PlayStation or just like constantly just doing that. And it was just like, that's all I seemed to be doing in lockdown, was finding a way to find like escapism from being like in a confined space. So I think a lot of like the influences from it come from like wanting to be outside but being stuck inside. So, and the series I've been watching at that time as well had been like The Mandalorian, and I've been really watching Star Wars because I love Star Wars to pieces. So it was like, I thought of like space, and then I was like, oh, I could even make like a video game, and then quickly like literally got out of bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, went on my computer and found like an 8-bit simulator After Effects tutorial, got some old footage and just put it in, and I was like, that looks so sick. I was like, I want to do some sort of Street Fighter like arcade thing, and it literally all just came from that. And it was like, because when you're in lockdown as well, it's like all your ideas are just constantly around you, and being able to like just get out of bed and just like sit down at a desk and just do it then and there, it was like everything was then and there, but it was also just like a curse at the same time, because everything's then and there and it's staring at you when you just want to chill and do nothing. It's like, well, I feel like I have to do something when you just want to do nothing.
Definitely, yeah. I really sensed that when I watched the film. I really sensed that there was this whole like inner like self, like looking at what you were doing in your own time. And I messaged you while watching the film, being like, "Was this made in lockdown?" And then at the end of the credits, it was like made in lockdown. I was like, "Oh, don't matter." I was like, "It makes sense," because I was in my head. I was like, it just felt like something that was done in your own space and stuff, which is really cool. I'm going to move on anyway. I'm going to talk to Mr. Moon Man himself, Manveer.
Moon Man Sohel. That's what they call me now.
But obviously, like with Sam, we got a full film, but with you, it's not even a trailer, but it's actually a prologue.
Yeah.
What I noticed with the film was the dialogue was very like comedic, you know, with the I'm the fucking Moon Man, and it had such a serious look to it. I just want to understand more about the Moon Man and who is he and what he represents.
Like for the longest time, I thought like the Moon Man is basically me. Like that is like the Moon Man is like manic episodes incarnate. He is like he's this overly ambitious yet kind of scared, and I think something that all of us can relate to. Like the Moon Man is basically like a big metaphor for art school, where like you've got 3 years to try all this shit out, and then once you're out of there, you're there like, oh no, like I'm leaving the den sort of thing. And it's the Moon Man was something I wrote, which was like Icarus was basically like a kind of avenue for me. So the character of the Moon Man is Icarus, but there's like a big divide. So like Icarus is like this quite sensitive but overly ambitious person who believes that like he could commit to like great things and he could do all this stuff. But the Moon Man is also like this splinter psychology that he develops once he's in space, which is like this very like animalistic caveman, a very physical sort of thing. And it was that thing of, it was a way to learn to laugh at myself as well. Because also I became aware of like the amount of ridiculous stuff I must say in a day when I'm like either in a bad mood or just when I'm in a good mood. Like, and there's that thing of, you know, and I think at art school, there was times where obviously because we were stressed and everything, we take everything so seriously. The amount of times we thought that like this short film was going to be like the be all and end all of our lives. And I think Moon Man was a great way for me just to be there like, yeah, you know, they're all just like castles in the sky, you know, that's what the saying goes. And yeah, there's this whole thing about like learning to be at equilibrium, because like I'm someone who like sometimes just disappears for like a good month or two, and it's about that whole, and it is very like in some of the tutors with Mark he was like Moon Man is quite a lockdown heavy idea as well, isn't it? It's about,
I was just about to say that, I've read multiple versions of your script throughout the year, and I never actually asked that question before. And knowing that question, I kind of really understand that script a lot more, and understand that story a little bit more because of it's that self-awareness, that thing more than anything. It's
and even then with the whole comedy stuff, I just thought it was great. I thought it was great to like, me and Aaron said like all of those. So like that opening sequence, that prologue, the first shot is inspired by Marriage Story. Okay. Which is a funny but very harrowing tale of like divorce and gender relationships. And I thought that was great. Like if every shot looks like a Kubrick wet dream, like very monumental and epic, but then the dialogue that comes out of your mouth is like the dumbest stuff possible. We thought it was great. Like, because I was like reading like the Tempest by Shakespeare, and he does a bunch of stuff in that where it's like Prospero's like this god level guy, but then like he uses powers to like be involved in like stupid schemes.
Is there a film with Russell Brand in?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Russell Brand would definitely be in the Tempest.
I very sadly watched that.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that's the thing. It was like this whole idea of like pathos and bathos, which is like this, you know, like you just undercut yourself at every turn just to show yourself that, like, you know, you're not that important. Chill out, take a step back. But yeah,
I like it a lot. I'm sorry, did you mention that Aaron is the cinematographer?
Yeah, Aaron's my cinematographer and pretty much like the guy who I pitch everything to. And like Moon Man was something where like even when I came up with it, it was something for like, even for him, I knew like visually he could flourish with it. And like it was something where like it was a real indie filmmaking venture, like one character, one location.
Yeah.
It was like a weird like meditation, self-reflection thing, and every walk of it, I think, now that I think about it.
I came to the scene that was shot.
Yeah.
I was actually there, and it was weird seeing it on the screen and then seeing it in person.
Yeah.
It seemed quite puppetry when we were doing it there, and then when you put it into the editing and everything, it's got
it looks surprisingly dramatic, which like half the time on set, I was thinking to myself, I was like, if this looks bad, this just looks bad. like there's no coming back from this. Like if we've got this moon prep hanging from the ceiling and you can see the wire and you can see the back of this guy's head through that welding mask.
And then we taped up the moon, didn't we, as well?
Like we had it taped to the ceiling with this industrial strength tape and had it taped to the wire, and it was something where like the reason I crushed the black so hard on the edit is to hide all of that stuff.
But it worked, and it worked.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah. I'm going to move on. So Ed, Lava. I'm not the biggest horror movie fan. I've not got a lot of knowledge on horror movies and stuff. So I'm really interested to see where you've got the aesthetic and the whole feel and presence of the film, especially with the sounds and stuff like that. I thought the sound was immense in the film, and I've just wondered where those inspirations came from. And
well, it's accidental. So like the original idea was meant to be funny.
Okay.
The film was meant to be funny. It was meant to be like American Werewolf in London. So it's like a joke. But then, and even I would say even I found even the script lock funny. Mm-hmm. But then when we were actually on set filming the bits that I thought were funny, I was like, oh shit, that's horrible. That's not funny at all. So like
in fact, Ed, sorry to interject, but I remember you. Sorry. So I remember you texting me the day you shot. You were there like, man, all of the stuff that I thought were jokes came across really serious, and all the serious stuff has come across as jokes.
No. It was not even that they didn't come across funny. They came across as like horrible. Like the peach bit when he eats the rotten peach, that's meant to be a joke, but then on screen it's just disgusting. Which I mean I should have predicted, but I guess so the black and white stuff, again, it was meant to be in color, but the horror effects look better in black and white because obviously I had to do them myself. And so like, can I give away the ending? I guess I can, if people have just seen it.
Yeah, I mean, it's already been shown. So
that organ at the end is literally just like cotton wool and latex, and then like a plastic tube going out. I'm like sat in the bath next to the toilet, like sucking it in and out to make it pump. And in color, that's exactly what it looks like, but in black and white.
It's amazing. You played with those concepts then. I was interested to see how you had made those things, because
yeah, it was a trial and error again. It's just sat on the floor. I didn't come into uni for like 2 weeks and just sat on my floor with like a bottle of special effects latex and just waiting for them all to dry and then wrapping them around different bits of cotton wool and seeing what works.
I just remember Finn coming up to me halfway through uni being like, I'm sick of having maggots in my fridge.
Oh yeah, man. I had them for months because I didn't want to kill them, right? It's like, so like the maggots, if you leave them too long, they turn into beetles. But I didn't. Oh, wow. But I didn't want to actually kill them. But in the end, I had to put them in the fridge and like kind of
close
them. Yeah. But like all the camera stuff, the like pressing in, you know, the camera's always doing this. That's from The Witch by Rodriguez, and it's meant to be like to do like voyeurism and stuff, I guess. I didn't go into the film with like an overall aesthetic. It was more like I just knew how I wanted every shot, and this is just how it happened to turn out. So I can't really say much more about it, you know.
I remember quite early on seeing you writing the screenplays out, and seeing you write out all the shots and stuff like that.
Yeah, so like as soon as I finished the script, the first thing I would do is go and storyboard the whole thing. Yeah. Like shot frame for frame. So yeah, but but then on the day, obviously you've got to do different things. Like we hadn't been in the house before we filmed. Right. So like there were just certain shots. So like we had to use my hallway because the hallway at the Airbnb had like a staircase running through it. And it wasn't like a straight line. It went like
yeah.
Just again, like thinking less practically and more thematically, and this could like be not the case at all, but you watch everything, I think, within the context of being in lockdown and the pandemic, and I just wondered if when the idea came about, sort of chronologically, and because it's hard to avoid this, you know, parasitic kind of thing inside you that you don't know is there, the coughing, the kind of cabin fever.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if it's coincidental or if this is something that was, or it's subconscious or actually, you know, really intentional, relating to what's going on.
Well, on the day we shot the hallway scene, do you remember when everyone thought George had coronavirus? Remember that? And he was like coughing and everyone, yeah. So we were filming on that day, and George was like, so the coughing, when he's in the hallway and he's coughing, George was like in the background recording the sound, like coughing his guts up. So like we were like, I don't know, on the set days, there was definitely the idea that this shoot could get cut short, or that like by this global pandemic, but the film itself was like the idea itself is like a year old. Like I'd been writing it for like all year. So like I could have been aware of disease or whatever because that's the thing that exists in the world, and especially in like horror movies, but like it wasn't an intentional,
wow,
you know, an intentional
corona. It's to have a sort of have I wonder how many other people that have seen it have a similar sort of feeling or relate to it in that kind of a way.
I think all anything anyone listens to or watches at the moment is put through. So like I wrote this other thing and I showed it to my friend, and it wasn't meant to be about lockdown, and they went, this could be a really, if you change this and this, it could be a really good film about lockdown. I was like, well, it's not about lockdown. So
it's so interesting. I think I think we go into the whole pandemic thing after I spoke to Jordan and talk about stuff like that, because it's so interesting how we're consuming information and how then we are releasing it as creatives. But yeah, so Jordan, your film, it's a trailer. Again, we've not been able to see the full thing for obvious reasons, but I'm here to ask about, one is the casting, because I think the acting just in the trailer alone was fantastic, and two is the costumes. I think with the level that we're at, maybe with production value in our content, it's very difficult to make our films look at the highest level they can be. But when I was watching yours, I was incredibly amazed by the level of professionalism that was there in regards to the costume and stuff. I just wondered what your process is with that, because I know you heavily produce your film as well. Am I right to say that?
Yeah. So I was quite lucky, to be honest. With cast, I used my R&D unit as like a casting workshop. So I've always done like auditions and stuff in the past, but I've always just left them as auditions and then picked from the auditions. But I wanted to kind of carry on that. So we did a kind of improv workshop, because I wanted to work on improv anyway and see what actors were good with improv, because I wanted to put a bit of improv into the script with the talking scenes. So we invited, I think it was 5 or 6 to like a little workshop. And then from then we did like little kind of games and stuff with them, and then we put like a little bit of costume on and reenacted some scenes from the script. And I was torn for quite a while between 3. In the end, it was after Christmas, I chose me 2 leads, and then I found out after that they were best friends for like 4 years, which was really lucky. But the other guy, we cast in Lava, didn't we? But he was great. I loved him. I didn't want to like waste the opportunity to work with him. But yeah, we were really lucky with the cast. One of them just...
Sorry, I mentioned about the R&D unit you spoke about, the people who are watching. But before we made our major film unit, we had the R&D unit where we had the chance to trial and test things of different films or the same sort of film that we used for the major project. That was just our first unit of university following before the final major film. Sorry, I just thought I'd explain it to people who don't know what you're on about. So do you want to carry on?
Yeah, so from then, we had the cast, and it was great because I had a lot more time to work with them, because we planned to shoot in March anyway. So I had like 3 months to kind of fine-tune the script with Ed and kind of get them on board with who the characters are and kind of give them time to like understand them, which is something I was really happy about having the time, because again, in the past, I've always had like a very short window with the actors where I've cast them and give them like a week or 2 till shooting. In terms of costumes, that again, I was very lucky. I did spend like quite a few months looking for costume. It was quite expensive. Like most places I looked at, for like 2 costumes was nearly $1,000 for all the bits and stuff. But by chance, I stumbled upon the Royal Exchange Theatre costume department, and they took me on a little tour, and they just had everything there. And with student discounts, I think we got the costume for 3 full costumes with all the props and things for 160 for a week rental, which I was just made up with. I think that was make or break for the film, because I think without the costumes, it wouldn't have worked as well. And I was toying with, before getting the costume, just changing the script or changing the whole idea, because I just knew I couldn't do it without something authentic, because it just wouldn't look right, I don't think.
I remember when you were doing one of the auditions and I seen the costume for the first time. You put it on, I think we were doing the auditions around the same time, maybe. I can't remember, but I remember seeing the costumes and thinking, wow, this is going to look class. Because something that you wouldn't think it's so beneficial to have that kit, especially something that's like in a certain period, a certain time. Yeah. So, and to get it at that price as well, mate, is, I mean, you've actually smashed it there.
I was really happy with it. But I think it works really well in the film.
Just with the casting again, did you use, what sort of like places did you use? Because I used something called Mandy, which is a website.
Yeah, so I've used Mandy for about 4 years, when it was originally called Casting Call Pro. So I've had a profile on that, so I've got a lot of like back references where people have, because once you do a casting thing, you can ask to get recommended or put like things on, so you're more approachable as like a casting director. So I've had that. I use Star Now as well. That's quite handy. What else do we use? Backstage, and then, to be honest, out the 2 leads I got were from someone who works in Salford University, who's a theatre director.
Okay.
And he works with like a lot of actors, and it was through him that I got them to apply, the 2 leads, Ben and Sam.
Sweet. Yeah, it's just interesting because it's when I was auditioning for mine, we had the same sort of thing. We had a mixture of people from Mandy, people we kind of knew, people that we did know, you know, and having that mix is quite good. I think you're really lucky that you got 2 actors that knew each other as well, especially something that you were creating. It just makes that, it just takes out that initial awkwardness, and it's just 2 people know each other inside and out, and it makes it a lot more comfortable to watch, I think. And even though you might not be able to tell, you will be able to tell completely. So you're quite fortunate there. Has anyone else got any other pointers to make before I move on? Or nope. So I'm going to ask something to all of you now. Obviously, we're coming out of the lockdown right now, and the lockdown came at a really like key time for us all. On a personal level, I was meant to be shooting a week after we went into lockdown. So obviously that got cut, and we didn't be able to make our film. I know each of you individually are at completely different stages with your films. I'm just wondering how you've been able to get around that, and what are your plans for the future with where you're at. Whoever wants to go first.
I can go first. I don't know. I personally, for me, my life is identical now. I definitely just finished uni because I still work. And I still work the entire time. So like, and also because mostly what I do is write. Again, like I just write. And all that it means is sometimes I can't go to the pub. Like, but I don't know, I think even in the long term, like a lot of how we're going to have to work in the future is that the people we want to work with won't live near us anyway. So we're going to have to be doing Zoom calls. I don't think it's so radically different than it would be anyway, in the planning phase anyway. Obviously shooting's different, but
I can jump on.
Yours would be really interesting, Mandy, because you're on a really similar stage where I'm at.
Yeah, this whole thing about like you and I, because obviously always working around each other at uni, we were always like prepping at similar stages and stuff, and like I was really lucky where like in hindsight I'd finished my pre-production stuff about 3 weeks earlier, and I'd set my shooting dates late, just thinking I'll be comfortable, like shoot that 1 week, edit that stuff, test out some style, then shoot your final 2 days, and then lockdown came, and I was like, you were too hubristic, man. You've shot yourself in the foot. But yeah, with me, so like when lockdown first came in, I was like really struggling with it. Felt like I had 2 hands tied behind my back. I had all these thoughts I'd like fully articulated on paper and with my actor. But then I kind of took it as a chance to kind of step back. So like I edited that prologue. I did like a 15-second trailer. I've been messing around because a lot of it was voiceover, but I'm at a point now with the film where like I'm looking at rewriting it to kind of make it a bit more, because right now I've realized like it's quite costly the way it is, but ironically enough, it's like originally it was like kind of The Shining, now it's becoming like Planet of the Apes. Like I want to kind of shoot in like desert sand dunes, and it's and I'm trying to kind of, I don't know about you guys, but with my work, obviously, because right now the stuff that's happening as influencers is like influencing everything. Like the original Moon Man script was about like kind of getting to where you were supposed to go and still feeling a little bit lost, which was kind of like what graduating was going to be like. But the new version of Moon Man is kind of like thinking you knew where you were going, but then turning up somewhere completely different. So in the new script, he ends up on a new planet, but it just isn't the moon.
Am I right to say that you're writing it into a feature as well?
No, I'm thinking. No, that we're talking about QT. QT
Right.
is the thing that's becoming a feature. That monster of a script. But like, no, but yeah, and I'm a bit like Ed. So like, because I write, like pretty much, like my life's pretty much been unaffected. It's just been kind of right, and literally like, if there's plans to make films, it's just about trying to make it as kind of clean as I can at this point, because obviously we were going to come out of film school and be indie filmmakers, but now like we've kind of been forced to be like that. Like there's not going to be those kind of big industry things to kind of run into straight away.
I think what you were saying as well about the way you've gone through lockdown and how it's been is I've obviously been in a really similar stage, and I feel a lot of similarity with how been through lockdown and having that initial like start of kind of freaking out a little bit and being like, where do I go? And then kind of calm down from it all. And then when you said about completely changing the concepts of the film, because now you have this time, we're not on a deadline anymore.
Yeah.
I've been completely thinking about how to access my content to the world as well. It's really interesting, and it's kind of like good to hear that someone else is on that same level.
Yeah, because then I think like because even then I have a feeling that like, I don't know about you, but like going back to that script, because I've worked so much on it now, the ideas kind of feel a little bit stale, and like so much has happened. Even though I've been in my living room for 3 months, like mentally and emotionally, so much has gone like roller coaster. I think there's like richer stuff, and like I've said, the Moon Man character has basically become a cipher for me. Like if you find me in a mental hospital one day, it'll be because they found the Moon Man diaries, which is probably me talking about myself in the third person as Moon Man. Like it's become a weird form of either like self-delusion or self-therapy.
They'll bring it out as some weird like man-based autobiography.
Yeah, like give it 6 decades and I'm living on like in a backwoods trailer park. Yeah, I'll be on the moon.
On the moon.
Yeah, literally, I'll be like, guys, time to release your biography.
Definitely. So I'm going to ask Sam as well. So obviously, Sam, you've made a film in lockdown, and then now it's here. Obviously, that might have not been the original plan for the film to make before lockdown, but what is your plans with this film that you have now? Are you going to take that off to X, Y, and Z? What's the plan?
Yeah, I mean, I've just kind of left it, like I've made it, and then now I'm back to working in bars and stuff. So I'm just kind of like, I've left it there, and then I'm starting to, the original idea I had before lockdown, I've just been kind of like dwelling on that and like writing a bit more on that and stuff, because that's what I wanted to do. So I'm like working more on that. But I think I'm just going to submit it to festivals or just show it wherever I can. And then maybe like once people can meet again, like going somewhere and being able to show it in like a big space for everyone to be able to like see it and stuff like that. And I'll re-edit it and stuff like that, because it's a rough thing that I made within a space of time, and I've not gone back and re-edited it because I don't think that would be true to what I made in lockdown. But if I wanted to do like a new version of it or like a remaster version or whatever you want, you know what I mean? Okay. But I think it is something that, especially the end of it, it does hand itself to being like carried on, and what else could come next with that. It is something that if I wanted to revisit the story of the whole thing or rewrite it, refilm it, it's something that I've lent to myself that I can just
Sam, that's like, I think that's what I was going to say when I was watching your thing. I thought it was such like a rich idea where like you could get like you could easily make a sequel about someone else going through the same things, but because you're the main, because we know who the main character is, you could do like a two-way perspective thing where we see what your life inside that simulation's like. I think that's you've created
fun aspect to it and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like when he's stuck inside and like trying to get out and stuff like that.
It's interesting. There's a little cliffhanger as well. You know, you've got the game gun at your head, and it's like, is this guy going to do it or not?
Well, I've had people say like, oh, like it's a bit off, like, a bit much at the end when he shoots himself, and I'm like, yeah, but what if he shoots himself with a gun and then that brings him back to life, or like it reboots and stuff like that? Like, it's all open to interpretation, like stuff like that. When it's a cliffhanger, like you can interpret it however you want. Like I've shown people films even from like first year, and they've been like, oh, I got this and I got this, and I'm like, that isn't the plot at all. But the fact that you thought that is like so like crazy, and it's just like, it just shows you how much like a concept can just be like molded and changed with everyone's like own personalities, like when they project themselves into a character and how they want their own like ideas and stuff to come out of it.
Definitely. So Jordan, you're in this like middle ground, I'd say. You've shot your film, you've got stuff to do, you're kind of in between where Manveer is and where Sam and Ed are, and what's your plans with that, and where you're going to go at that?
So Kieran, the editor's editing it at the moment. I've said to him, just trying to, because I did an edit for my hand in originally. It was only like a rough edit, so I gave him that and said like that's kind of like the guidelines for what I wanted. But again, we're kind of stuck in a situation where we still need to record the audio again, and because everyone's kind of split up, it's going to be difficult to do. So it's kind of, at the moment, I'm waiting until things go back to normal before I can get back to work with it. I was hoping after to put into festivals, because there was a lot of festivals on for war films during V-Day last month, the month before. So I was hoping to get it done by then to put it on, but because of all this, that's kind of out the window now. So I'm thinking to get it finished by this year and then ready to kind of put into festivals by next year. But in the meantime, I'm working on a couple of other films at the moment. Like me and Ed are working on a horror film. We managed to get like an old mansion to film in. So I'm working on that, and I'm writing a script myself, and I'm producing another film for someone else. So trying to keep busy at the moment, really.
I think that's the key thing, is keeping busy. I found that quite difficult to start, and then I kind of like started picking up a camera and just filming whatever, and watching a lot of things as well. I think watching things and as we were saying at the start of the discussion, that the consuming information this time has been really like key for me, and it seems to have like helped my practice quite a lot, because you've had so much time to do that, and I feel like you kind of absorb the information that you get given a lot more than what you would normally do. Because I felt like I was going like 1,000,000 miles an hour before, and then now I'm just kind of like, should chill out a bit and just appreciate the moment.
Like it forces. That's the one thing. It's forced me to be a lot more like patient with practice. Like like if the past couple of months before lockdown was like rushing as much as we can to get to that end point, now I'm just like, let's enjoy the journey a little bit.
Definitely.
Like let's enjoy trying to write the 50-page thing, and 30 pages might be terrible, but let's try draft them till they're pretty strong. Like I think it's got me back to a place where, like, I think obviously because I'd tied the practical stuff to academic, sometimes it was really stressful, whereas now, like, when I make stuff, I actually just really enjoy making it again, which I really enjoy. Like
definitely. I think you realise as well, I think it kind of looks at what you've done, Sam, is that like it is really possible to make content on your own, in your own space, and make it look amazing.
I will say, I did have my girlfriend in the flat as well, Isla. But the lens I was using has a really shallow depth of field, and I just tried to use it on myself at first, but it was just like out of focus. So I used her as like a focus puller, or like when there is movement, there is another person. It's not like the ghost of malware and stuff like that.
It says a lot.
Another person.
It says a lot. It's not this, in normal like full production films, there's an actual someone who's a focus puller, and there's that role's taken up, and that's he's got a paid job in that. And right now you've made that film by just getting your girlfriend to be like, do it from here to here, and then
I mean, it's funny as well because like people complain all the time, like, oh, I can't make this big project because of this. And then you see people on YouTube just being like, you can do it, like, just make it, just go out and film it. But it's so hard to like get yourself in that headspace, but just forcing yourself to do like what I did, like a little bit every day. And then you come out with this big, like 10-minute short film and stuff. You can just do it. And I mean, all I had was a camera, green screen, a microphone, and I used one camera and one lens. Like I didn't change it at any point. Like it was literally like a bare skeleton, like outline of kit and everything. Like the microphone is the one I'm using now, and it's just like a shotgun mic. Like there's nothing like adventurous, and it's all as well. You could have easily filmed something like that on your iPhone. Like everyone's got.
I was just about to say,
like 4K.
I've only got like a 360 camera. I haven't got a normal camera here, and I've been using my iPhone, and it's quite crazy what you can get from it. It's and if you want to manipulate what you're using,
in fact, Ollie, my Moon Man poster is taken on your iPhone.
It is,
and that was before lockdown. Like that was.
We were you were shooting it with Aaron's camera, and I was just like, oh, let me take a few photos on my phone,
and yours turned out better than the 4K camera.
It's sometimes it just works, doesn't it? And sometimes you can just find this sweet spot with it. I especially think like the newest iPhone camera, when it clicks onto that video mode, some of the footage you can get from that is it's immense. It's
oh yeah. Well, what the new Lady Gaga music video, but not the second one, all filmed with an iPhone, and that's got like motion track in the background for like a whole like plate and stuff. And all sorts, and it's just like that's all filmed on iPhone. Everyone kicked up a fuss like, oh, it's on an iPhone, it looks naff, but you wouldn't have known until someone said that's an iPhone.
We're going to have to begin to wrap it up soon. Just keeping an eye on the time, and keeping it within the time frame. But I've just kind of got a question that I'm really interested to ask anyone, really, any of you, specifically though, as filmmakers working within narrative fiction. Obviously, there's been, in the future, if you're making work, there's this big chunk of time that we all spent in lockdown. And then the time after it, coming out of lockdown, this whole year really is going to be marked by this experience, this really unique thing we've all experienced. I just wondered if any of you had considered or would consider, or how you feel. This is something I've read a few writers and directors talk about. Actually, not just metaphorically or letting it subconsciously impact your work, but actually setting a film or setting a piece of narrative during lockdown or with specific references to the pandemic, to the situation. Or is it something that, I know it's sometimes strange when you've recently lived through something to fictionalize it, but it's going to be something that's so universal. I wonder if anyone's thoughts on that at all.
I think if I gave it a couple of years, I think right now it's a touch too fresh. And I think, obviously, because everyone's doing kind of lockdown set pieces, and because it's a shared cultural thing, I think we all have very similar feelings. As much as we have our own individual circumstances that influence it, I think we all have some like threads in how we feel. But I think I could definitely, like, you could use it as like a set piece quite easily. Like I've just had the thought then, like, imagine a marriage on the rocks and lockdown's called. Yeah. It's like a tense boiler room thing, isn't it? Then
I think in 6 months' time there are going to be hundreds of TV shows starring like I don't know, Olivia Colman about and shit, and it's going to be the worst 3 months for television and film. I really dread it. Like, I just don't want to see, it's not that I don't want to see lockdown stuff. I don't want to see it when I've been outside. I've only been outside for 3 months.
It's going to oversaturate the market, definitely.
Yeah,
like so much. Coronation Street's going to have like a whole thingy on it and everything. So
I wrote this play, and it accidentally, started writing it before lockdown. It accidentally is about people being locked inside their house, and I was like, I just don't want to make that for like 3 years, because I don't want people to think that I spent my time you know.
Like I'm feeling that with Moon Man. Like, I don't like the fact that Moon Man's in one location now. Like, I wanna be outside. I wanna breathe oxygen on set now.
think there'll be some bad stuff, but I think there'll be some good stuff come out of it as well. I think there'll be
No, for sure. I am joking, of course. There'll be.
I just think it's a case of with you guys, what you've been speaking about today is, especially in the case of Manveer and Sam, is that there's a very like personal journey that you've made your film out of, and if it's not entirely directed to lockdown itself, and it's not like it's more like a metaphor of what lockdown was for that individual who's writing it, I think some like really interesting pieces of work will come out. I don't think any of us want to see some guy sat with his dog for 3 months on a film, you know, and no words or whatever, trying to be all weird about it. I don't think anyone wants to see that. I think people want to see something unique, and I think it will come from it. I think with that, it might be time to wrap up. Thank you for everyone joining. This is the first 3 parts. So on Tuesday, which is the 21st, if I'm right. Yep. It's the documentary. I think we've got 2 or 3 people who've been making documentaries. So it'd be the same sort of thing. There'd be a screening and then a bit of a discussion afterwards. I want to first of all thank Ben for setting it up with me to help me out, and especially these 4 guys, and let's hope that their films go far.
I want to say thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Usually I'd just be like rewatching Game of Thrones right now. It's been nice chatting to people.
It's really great, just to briefly from a member of staff point of view, and I'll probably say something similar on all of the Q&As, but it is really great to have these conversations. And I think someone mentioned earlier on the idea of being post-graduation, being thrown into making films with limited resources and with unforeseen challenges, and being chucked out of that safety net of being within a university, and the fact you've had to experience that whilst making your 3rd-year films. And can I just say, having known all of you guys for 3 years and seeing you sort of come through the course, it's really great to see that everyone was prepared and that people have made really interesting work or adapted in ways to new challenges, because that is what we'd like you to be able to do. And it's been great to see people. Obviously there's an initial lack of motivation and dismay at what's going on, but there's been some really, really amazing things come out of it and work come out of it. We wouldn't expect anything less. So I just want to say thanks to all you guys for continuing to make work and continue to make us happy as staff as well, because it's been really, really great to see.
Sweet. Sweet. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
Catch you guys later.